Why are we always getting involved in everyone else's troubles?
Because we're the freaking Guardians of the Galaxy.
What a bunch of a-holes.
Welcome back, everyone. It's Charlie. I had a chance to see Guardians of the Galaxy 3, so this will be my review video. Be sure to go see it as soon as possible. Do not wait. If you're new to the channel, we're doing a giveaway for movie tickets. All you have to do to enter is be a subscriber and post your favorite Guardians moment from any of the Marvel movies so far. I will do a full post-credit scene video and breakdown for the entire movie with all the Easter eggs later next week after the movie is released everywhere. And do stay after the credits. There are post-credit scenes. We are talking about Marvel movies here. If you remember, there were 5 post-credit scenes after Guardians of the Galaxy 2, so in this movie, they're back down to a normal number of post-credit scenes. But there is so much stuff that we have to talk about, so don't worry, like my full breakdown Easter eggs video will be very, very long when I post it next week. I was really happy to find out the movie was as good as I hoped it would be. Marvel really needed a hit on their hands right now, just with all the shellacking they've taken the last several months. It went way beyond my expectations just based on all the other Marvel movies. I'd had such high hopes for Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania with Kang the Conqueror after seeing him in the Loki series as He Who Remains, knowing it was going to be the beginning of Marvel Phase 5, and they kept billing it as this mini Avengers movie like Captain America Civil War, so you were really hyped going into it. Marvel wanting to set up Avengers 5 Kang Dynasty in a way that they hadn't really done during Marvel Phase 4, but the difference with Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is that it had so much to do just beyond that. Like, in addition to being a good movie on its own and setting up future movies, and being the last movie in a trilogy and wrapping up all of these different character arcs, and there are many Guardians of the Galaxy, it's not like there's just like 2 characters, there's a bunch of them. So there's a ton of storylines that you have to wrap up. Several of the cast members have gone on record saying it's their last Marvel movie ever, or at least they think that it's their last Marvel movie ever, the last time playing the character, even though I think some of them are being kind of misleading because we do have Avengers, Secret Wars, and pretty much anybody who's ever even thought about being a Marvel character is probably going to be in that movie, even the ones from the Fox Marvel Universe and the Sony Marvel Universe. But the movie succeeded on pretty much all the different fronts that it had to succeed on. Like, it was a good movie on its own, just a self-contained movie if you just wandered into it and you hadn't seen the other Guardians of the Galaxy movies before this. It also did a decent job of setting up other future movies, not just Avengers 5, Kang Dynasty, Avengers Secret Wars, but other future teasers for characters that they can pay off in potential future movies. And it did a great job of wrapping up everyone's character arcs that started in the first movie. When I talk about setting up future movies, though, you have to imagine that all the Marvel movies have to function like a glorified television series, serialized, setting up a much larger story that they pay off in big bookends Avengers movies. But for example, one of the differences nowadays is that Disney recently just backtracked on doing infinite sequels in same franchises, so don't expect anybody else to get a 4th movie ever except Spider-Man. Any movie that earns over $1 billion is going to get as many sequels as it wants. James Gunn does use some of the movie to help set up different characters that Marvel can continue in future movies. Adam Warlock, probably the biggest one of all. I feel like it's not a spoiler to talk about him because it's in all the trailers. He's meant to be kind of like the vision of the movie, this ultra-powerful, perfect being who feels like he was just born yesterday and is still trying to figure out good from evil in his own sense of morality.
But a thing isn't beautiful because it lasts.
There are a couple brand new characters like that in the movie that you haven't seen before in other Marvel movies that they could potentially pay off in the future. So in that way, there are some seeds that James Gunn plants that Marvel can grow later on if they want. He basically said that this is his last Marvel movie because he's running DC Films now and he's doing DC Chapter 1, so all of his attention is going to be going to that after this movie comes out in theaters. So he kind of had to wrap everything up that he'd ever wanted to do, like do everything that he wanted to do, and just hope that maybe Marvel will pay off some of these lesser things in the background. But for the most part, those things are just light teases and implied future stories. They don't hijack the story or anything like that. The real story of the movie is all about Rocket and dealing with trauma. I guess in the way that all Guardians of the Galaxy movies are about dealing with past traumas and learning to accept yourself as you are. James Gunn actually talked about this recently.
I think of Volume 1 as being about the mother, Volume 2 is about the father, and Volume 3 is about the self. And coming to terms with each of those situations. In the first one, Peter Quill is coming to terms with his relationship with his mother, which is the person he loved the most in the world. In Volume 2, he's coming to terms with his relationship with his father. The one he thought he wanted wasn't the one he wanted, and the one he had was better than what he thought he was. And then in the third one, it's about getting to accept yourself. who are we really and how are we okay? You know, Mantis even says this at one time in the movie. Most of them don't like themselves very much. They all have issues with themselves. Nebula has issues with herself. Peter Quill has issues with himself. Mantis, Kraglin, they all do, and Rocket most of all. So I think that's what this movie is about, above and beyond anything else.
Doing everything he can to make you cry in his Marvel movies. In the movie, they use Rocket's backstory with the High Evolutionary, whose whole thing is literally trying to create the perfect life form by experimenting, changing people, like turning an innocent baby raccoon who's not bothering anyone into the Rocket that you see now against his will. During the trailer, he has that line where he says High Evolutionary didn't want to make things perfect, he just hated the way things were. And it's all about that idea that you're perfect the way you are, you don't need to change yourself to be better. Nebula's storyline is a big parallel for this with Thanos. Like she talked about in the previous Marvel movies, her father ripped out her body parts every time she failed or she lost a battle to try and make her a more effective fighter, to try and make her better. So a big part of her arc has been learning to accept herself. Even though I do feel like Rocket is the star of this movie, like it's an ensemble, so all the actors do an amazing job, but really Rocket is the secret protagonist of all Guardians movies. But like I said, because James Gunn had to wrap up all the character story arcs, he has to pay off that storyline that's been going on with Peter Quill and the new version of Gamora from 2014, Drax's storyline since the first movie, Mantis, even Groot's storyline. Bradley Cooper did an amazing job. Even though for him it's just a voiceover performance, I feel like he's always done a pretty awesome job with Rocket. There are 3 different actors playing Rocket in this movie though. One is Baby Rocket, another is younger Rocket, and then Bradley Cooper plays the adult version of Rocket. The difference with a character like Groot, because Vin Diesel voices all the versions of the character, is that because he says so few words, they just modulate his voice to make it sound like a younger voice or slightly older when he was teenage Groot, and now he's the adult version of Groot, so they don't have to change it at all. We do get the rest of Rocket's backstory. High Evolutionary was the being who created him, his father, so to speak. There's some comic book changes to the characters' backstories in the way that they change all the comic book stories for the Marvel movies, but everybody did a great job, most of them thinking that it would be their final Marvel movie, or at least playing it like it was their last Marvel movie. I think we will see some of these people during Secret Wars. Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, Karen Gillan, even Vin Diesel as Groot. You'd think it'd be harder for Vin Diesel to portray Groot as a character who only speaks one word, but if you've seen any of the other versions of Groot in any of the other Marvel movies during different ages, this Guardians of the Galaxy 3 is probably Vin Diesel's and Groot's best movie. Best portrayal of Groot on screen and best performance by Vin Diesel as Groot in a movie. He's like the Giga Chad version of Groot in this movie. I'm sure there'll be a lot of talk about Will Poulter as Adam Warlock after the movie comes out. He understood the assignment. I feel like he did a pretty solid job. I'm excited to see what he does with the character in the future. He's got so much potential. There'll probably be some minor complaints from people who aren't happy with the actor that they pick for Adam Warlock or the way they portray him in the movie, them visioning him during the movie, portraying him as a character who was born yesterday. They do use the character for a lot of comedy in the same way that they use Vision for comedy because he was born yesterday and so powerful. Chukwudi Iwuji was great as the High Evolutionary. You probably remember him from James Gunn's Peacemaker series. It was actually his performance during Peacemaker that convinced James Gunn to use him as the High Evolutionary. And even though most of the movie takes place in space, it didn't feel quite as crazy as Ant-Man and the Wasp Quantumania did with how unreal the environments got. It wasn't a CG mess, kind of like Quantumania was. And one of the other coolest things, I think, is it felt like James Gunn read everyone's complaints about the Guardians movies not being as hardcore as they could have been after the first one and cranked the dial up to 11 because this was his last Guardians movie, like truly going out as spectacularly as possible, holding nothing back. No joke, the movie could have been rated R. Like, it feels like it was almost rated R. That's how traumatizing it will be in the theaters. In a good way, though. Like, you will cry. Be prepared to cry. But it isn't meant to be the end of the Guardians of the Galaxy team. Like, they might not do Guardians 4 as a movie, but the Guardians of the Galaxy team will come back in a future Marvel movie with a different roster at some point. Probably Secret Wars, maybe some other Marvel movies too. Some are saying this is the best Marvel movie since Avengers Endgame. I don't know if I'm ready to jump that far without another rewatch or two. Like, I have to see the movie a couple more times. But it's definitely top 3 since Avengers Endgame, and without doing a complete re-ranking of all the Marvel movies, this is at least in my new top 5 Marvel movies of all time. I'll probably do a new Marvel movie tier list soon just because it's been so long since I've done one. If you did hate the previous Guardians of the Galaxy movies though, or if you just hate all Marvel movies in general, like some people just do not like comic book movies, the movie isn't going to completely turn you around 180. As you would expect though, the music is totally on point. James Gunn does not mess around when it comes to Guardians of the Galaxy music. I believe it's actually online now. I think you can actually listen to most of the songs that are in the movie. Overall, just coming out of it, it came off so well. It makes me way more optimistic about the future of DC movies under James Gunn. Once you watch the movie, you will see that this dude just gets it. You will feel way better about the Superman Legacy movie after this. Like, oh yeah, maybe he can do a really good job with Superman. Once you do have a chance to see the movie, post your reactions in the comments, and please don't post spoilers if you do get to see it early. Like I said, I will do a full post-credit scene video, full breakdown, Easter eggs videos for the movie after it comes out next week. We can talk about all the spoilers during that because there is a lot of stuff that we have to talk about during the movie. Overall, I feel like it was a great movie. I was really happy with the way it went down. Marvel definitely did need a hit right now. And even though I have no idea what the box office is going to wind up being, there are many different factors that go into how movies box office does. The movie itself is solid. Because this week was CinemaCon, there was like a trailer fest, there's still several videos that I'm working on. I'll try to post everything as quickly as possible. Congratulations to the giveaway winner from my last Marvel video, AdsmanJays. Please email me on the About page of my channel so I can get your contact details. Everyone click here for all my Guardians of the Galaxy 3 videos, and click here for my new Ahsoka trailer video and Easter eggs. Thank you so much for watching, everyone stay safe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.